Alright, so here's what our substrate is going to be. I'm not even sure what it's made out of. I think it's like a black sand, but it is completely inert. It says there's some bacteria in there, it contains beneficial bacteria, but it doesn't have any nutrients for plants, I don't believe. So we are going to be putting some root tabs in. So first thing I'm going to do is put a base layer of this, then we'll add some root tabs, and then we'll cap it with another layer of this. Each of these bags is 10 pounds, so I think 20 pounds should be plenty for this 10 gallon aquarium. Alright, so these are the root tabs we're going to be going with. These should provide a good amount of nutrients for the plants. It says to put one of these every 5 to 6 inches in a grid pattern. This thing is 20 inches across by, I believe, 10 inches deep, but the entire thing isn't going to be planted. The plants are really just going to be here in the back and then a little bit over here. So I think I'm just going to put them probably every 5 inches or so along the back, and then probably maybe one or two more over in this corner. Alright, that should be enough. This thing comes with 60 of these, so these should last me for a pretty good while. Probably got to replace these every month or so. But we got, I believe I put 4 of them along the back, and I put 2 over here in this circle. Next up, we are going to cap it off with one more bag of this. There's actually a lot, like the 10-pound bag doesn't look very big, but once I put it in there, it actually covered it pretty well by about an inch or so. I don't know if I want to put the entire bag in, but then what am I going to do with half a bag of this left over? So I think we are just going to put the entire bag in there. Alright, so I still got a little bit of this left in here, but I think I like the way this looks and the amount that is there, so I think we are going to leave it at like that. Alright, next up we're going to add some water, and I'm going to use some dechlorinator just to remove the chlorine from the water. I'm not going to put in a whole bunch of water just yet, probably going to do maybe a gallon or two. I just got and reused 1 gallon, I think 64 ounces is a gallon, right? A 1 gallon old iced tea container. So we're going to use this to fill the tank up. It says to use, was that too much? It says to use 2 drops of this per gallon, which seems like not a lot. But yeah, add 2 drops per 1 US gallon. So that was actually, I think, a little bit more than 2 drops. But we're just going to add this in here gently. Alrighty. Looks good. I think I'm going to go and grab 1 more gallon, fill up a little bit more, and then we're going to add the plants. Alright, so let's plant some plants in here. While I was filling it up, I realized that 64 ounces is actually half a gallon, not 1 gallon. I was never really good at the metric system, but I guess I put in 5 half gallons, so there should be 2.5 gallons of water, which makes sense. It's probably actually about a third of the way up, but the substrate already had some water in it and whatnot. So let's plant the plants. I got 2 different types for now. I'd like to get a couple more. Forgot the name of this one. But I'm going to use this as a background plant, and I'm going to try to fill in some other background plants at some point later on as well. So let's just go ahead and plant these guys along the back wall here. I've never actually done this, but let's try it out. Alrighty, so this is the dwarf chainsaw, the second plant that I'm going to plant in here. This is the one I'm going to put kind of in the corner there, a little bit closer to the foreground. And this one looks like it came just in like one big clump, whereas there the stems were kind of separate. I don't know if I'm supposed to separate these or what, but let's just get this guy kind of in here, like so, I think. And then we'll put another one kind of right there. Alright, so next up we're going to add a little bit of driftwood. This was actually two pieces. This was one piece that actually kind of went out all the way to here. I cut that off, and then I glued this second piece kind of right here, and this piece also went out pretty far. It was actually going to be too deep to put in this tank, so I cut it here. It doesn't look as good, but I think I'm going to try to bury this tip under the substrate a little bit, and hopefully it'll sit just like that. Now I didn't actually, well, I rinsed it off, but I didn't actually like waterlog it or anything, so I think it's probably going to float. So I'm going to see if I need some sort of weights to keep it down. Actually, I think it's staying down pretty well. All right. Alright, as I've been adding more water, I noticed that the driftwood is starting to float. So I think we are going to add a couple fishing weights just to keep it down a bit. I got some 4-ounce pyramid sinkers. Let's balance this right there. Alright. And I don't know if we need one on this side, but just in case, let's put one more right there. And I think that'll do the trick holding this down. Then hopefully in a couple days it'll get waterlogged and I could take the sinkers out. Alright, that looks to be enough water. So next up we're going to set up the filtration, which is going to be a little difficult here, but we got some tubing, a check valve, a pump, and then the actual sponge filter. Size small, but I looked at it, it's actually way bigger than I thought it was going to be for a size small. But let's get all this stuff set up here. How am I going to do this? Let me get all this organized in one piece, and then I'll show you the installation. Alrighty, I think I got everything connected well. Here's our actual pump, which will sit there. We got our airline tubing, we got our check valve, which I think I put in the correct way. And then we got our sponge filter. So I'm going to put this in that back corner. Might have to move some of these plants out the way. Alright, I think that is where I want it, and hopefully eventually the plants will kind of grow in front and around it where you can't even see it. But let's go ahead and start it, and let's see if it is working. Alright, I guess I did do everything correctly. Perfect. Now, like I mentioned, the actual filter is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about half that size. But yeah, hopefully the plants can kind of grow in around it and in front of it, where eventually you won't even see it. Alright, so we are almost done. One of the last things I'm going to be doing here is just adding some bacteria to get the nitrogen cycle started and sped up a little bit. So it looks like we need, for a new system, 4 ounces per 10 gallons. This is 10 gallons, so we're going to add 4 ounces. This time I'm going to make sure that my measurements are correct. Let's go ahead and add 4 ounces, which seems like a lot. Let me do this over the top of this. There's 4 ounces. So let's dump that in. Make sure it's all in there. And we are almost there. Alright, and last thing we are going to be adding is just an aquarium light for the plants. I'm actually going to see if I can put this more toward the back, because most of my plants are a little bit toward the back. Is that on there? Okay. Let's turn this thing on. Alrighty. So that looks not that good. But hey, no aquarium looks good right when you set it up. So hopefully over the next month, these plants can kind of grow in a little bit. We get the nitrogen cycle going, and then we can add some fish and maybe some other aquatic animals, some invertebrates. But I'm picturing it in my head all filled in, and I'm hoping it looks as good in real life as it does in my head. We got to fix the substrate a little bit. Looks like it got moved around while I was dumping the water in. But yeah, things look not that good, but hopefully better in the next video. Alright, so hope you guys liked it, and I will see you next time.